So there's a fun game that we have just started playing here at Flocking Around. And by just start, I mean 100 days worth of playing. That game is called Birdie. Now, Birdie is a kind of bird version of Wordle where you get 6 guesses to guess a bird instead of a word. And you're given clues on how to identify that bird, or you're given images as the clues for identifying that bird. You're also given a snippet of sound, and each time you get a little bit more of the image, a little bit more of the sound. And this game has caught my attention. I'm enjoying it a lot. So I decided we would do a birdie of the day every day, going through how I identified that bird. And I would show whether I made a lot of big flubs or I got it pretty quickly. I would show my thought process and how I got to where I got, which will hopefully also just help enhance your bird ID skills in real life and not just in this fun game. So join us every day for a flocking birdie of the day.
Behold the birdie of the day. It's the birdie of the day.
Now, as this is my first time trying to do this version, you're going to have to give me a little bit of, leeway, because I'm going to have to remember I have to go to the computer to click on things, but then draw on things separately on this telestrator here. So, this is the birdie from July 5th. This one I got in 1. Now, you're going to see here, it doesn't show that I've already got it. It says I haven't replayed it yet or played it at all. It's because I play on my phone. I'll get it on my phone, but I'm doing this on the computer, so I will still be honest when I don't get a bird, when I offer a really bad blunder. I'll still be honest so you can see it. So let's start with 2 days ago, which I got in 1 guess, no sound. So that means I did not use the little sound down here. You can click there and you can listen to the sound, but also you can click this little purple button here and you can look at the sound too. Now, I did neither. I looked at this image and I'm going to walk through what I saw. When I am identifying birds, I use a very specific pattern, and it helps me identify birds no matter where I am at. So I'm not memorizing birds, I'm learning the things that help me to understand how to identify a bird. So, this one, 3 things. What can you see? What can you hear? What's the context? Now, in this case, I said I didn't use the audio, so I'm not going to use the audio here, so we'll take out what can I hear. So what can I see? What's the context? Well, context, we only get a little bit of context. The context in this case is some habitat, and that is that this is a juniper. How can we tell it's a juniper? Well, look at the needles, okay, and then you see people call these juniper berries. Those are actually the cones of the juniper tree, okay, because junipers are conifers, so they produce cones. So those little juniper berries, those are cones. So that's some context. I know this bird is in juniper. Now, it could be that it's an ornamental juniper. Very much could be. But then what I see of this bird is what led me to my ID. Now, what I can see. So what I see is I see a fairly long tail. Okay, so you can see this is a fairly long tail for a pretty small bird, because again, this is a juniper berry, so it's pretty small. So I see a fairly long tail on a fairly small bird. Now right here in the undertail, I see a streak. Okay, so I can see a bird that has streaks in the undertail, has a long tail. These tail feathers have pale edging along the both inner and outer edges, it looks like there, because this is the innermost tail feather of the right side of the tail, innermost tail feather of the left side, and both have edging that is visible. So there's a lot of edging, but it's not like white like we'd see in maybe like a Vesper sparrow or another sparrow that, has white outer tail feathers. So I'm steering clear of those. And then what I'm seeing is on these upper tail coverts, we have thick lines. We have nice thick streaking in those upper tail coverts. And then if you look very closely, and it's very hard to see, right there I see just the ever slightest hint of red. Now, it is tough. You're having to look really closely, and it's more of just, it's almost like there's a little bit of a reddish hue to a couple of these tail feathers, but it's so light. So, my first guess, and again, I wasn't sure I'd be right, but I felt pretty good about this first guess. We'll see if it jumps up here. There we go. So my first guess was house finch. Okay, now, why house finch? So that strong upper tail covert streaking, long tail with really thin tail feathers or rectrices with tail edging to them, and then some streaking in that undertail. Okay, that long tail and those upper tail coverts with that streaking, that led me to the finches. That is just right where my mind went first, is this is one of our longer tailed finches. So house finch, Cassin's finch, purple finch. There's some other possibilities in there, but then again, I'm making an educated guess because of the juniper. I'm thinking this is clearly a finch of arid country, and for those who don't know, house finches were introduced throughout much of North America. Initially, the house finch was just found in the arid West in junipers. So, house finch was the first guess, and house finch was the correct guess. So I got it in 1. That was 2 days ago. That was July 5th. Let's go to July 6th. Now this one I got in 2. This was one I made a blunder on, and I'll own that blunder because I wasn't sure where to start. I sometimes in these birdies I feel like they're trying to trick you a little bit by giving you false information. So let's start with what I have contextually. So remember, what can I see? What can I hear? What's the context? Well, I did try the sound on this one. And honestly, the first little bit of sound doesn't play very well. And I will say, on my iPhone, for whatever reason, I only get a snippet of the sound. So for whatever reason, if I don't listen to it on another device, I cannot actually get that first little bit of the sound. So the sound proved helpful. So sound, I listened to it, didn't help me at all because I couldn't hear anything, because the first sound was honestly just audio static. Okay, then contextually, what can I see? Well, it looks like it's a smaller bird because this is pretty zoomed in. Okay, so we got a little zoom here. That's supposed to be a magnifying glass. It was terrible, but it's really zoomed in, so it's a pretty small bird. That's about all I can tell. This might be like a dead branch or something, but I can't identify what type of tree it is based on this first image. So I didn't have a great guess. Now, what I will say is my first guess, I'm going to show you what it was. It was a pretty dumb one. I should have noticed this right here, and I did. See those undertail coverts? They look kind of yellowy. But my thought was, because of other ones that have tricked me, that might be just the way that the color is bouncing off lighter undertail coverts from maybe some greenery or yellowing leaves or something of a nice saturated color that's actually reflecting back up onto those undertail coverts. So I didn't trust that those were truly yellow in my first guess. So let's go to my first guess. My first guess was terribly faded, but I just didn't have anywhere else to go, and I needed to get more information. So I guess black-capped chickadee. I thought, it looks like there's a little bit of white showing up on those primary feathers or those outer flight feathers, but what I was missing was the white in the outer tail feathers here, which should have been the dead giveaway that it wasn't going to be a chickadee, but I just didn't know where else to go to start. So I guessed that. Now, as soon as I saw this image, let's see if I can actually blow this image up a little bit. Let's see, can I? There we go. How about that? There, that's a little bit bigger. So, in this image, I could see, nope, truly yellow undertail coverts. This is, it looks like some sort of arid tree land, or arid land tree that it's sitting on, so I've got a little more context. Now, whether this is a juniper, maybe one of the species of juniper of the West, maybe it's, oh gosh, I don't know, it could be pinyon or something like that too, but to me it looks junipery. So I'm guessing arid land bird, and now I can see truly yellowtail undertail coverts, white body. Again, at this point, I didn't need the sound. I didn't feel like I thought I had it pegged pretty well. And so yellow undertail coverts with a white body, and nothing especially fantastic about the feet as a giveaway. These look like pretty standard small passerine feet, not big and bulky like I'd expect in a sparrow, not especially really gnarly looking like I would have expected in a chickadee. I couldn't see those in the first one. So warblerish feet to me, especially with those paler pads, and this is hard to see again, but right there you can see the under pads of this bird. Those pale pads of the bottom of the feet there, that always speaks warbler to me. So I guessed Virginia's warbler, and I got it in 2. And that was my process then on that bird. So there are the last 2 birds. This is the first and hopefully many to come of flocking birdies of the day. And we'll see what happens as we go forward. I will try to make sure I never give spoilers until very end of the day. I'll make sure the video publishes, or we'll do the previous days the day after. Either way, we're going to start doing these, so if you like to play Birdie, or if you're going to start playing Birdie, visit birdiegame.net to do your own Birdie, to participate. So you can see it right here at the top, birdiegame.net, and you can play along every day, and then you can go back in the time machine. There's a little time machine button in the top left corner of your screen. You can go back and play old ones. So as we go, I will also go back in time and show some of the ones that I've done before, and then maybe eventually we'll get to the point where I'll start doing some historically that I have not done before, and we'll walk through those as well. But as always, I will be honest about it, because if I make a gaffe, it's more fun to poke fun at me for guessing something ridiculous on some of these, which you'll see I have done throughout playing this. So, see you tomorrow for another flocking birdie of the day.
That was the birdie of the day, the birdie of the day.